looking for the God story and news of the day. My Michelle Live News and Views. Here's Michelle.
Here's Michelle, and thank you for making My Michelle Live part of your day. You obviously care. And for many of us with traditional values, we're in a state where we have utter confusion. What's wrong is right and what's right is wrong. And so in America, we look to science and we look towards to the courts to give us some kind of grounding so that we know where we're at, where we're going. And yet in the courts and in science, what's wrong is right and what's right is wrong. And enter into the conversation my guest. Very excited to have with us Larry Klayman. Now, Larry is an attorney, an activist, former U.S. Justice Department prosecutor, and he founded both Judicial Watch and Freedom Watch, astoundingly important organizations which have given America some grounding in these crazy times. In addition, we're going to be talking about Larry's book, which I will show you a view of if you're watching in just a moment. It takes a counter revolution. Wake up, America. We're about to wake up. Larry, so glad to have you with me today.
My pleasure, Michelle.
In our world, as I said, we often look to the courts and we look to science to give us some grounding, because anyone can get a little extreme from time to time. What has happened as a man of the court? We see the court in a picture of the court in the background as you being in a courtroom. What has happened to the court in the last 20 years?
It's not just the last 20 years. It's just gotten progressively worse in the last 20 years.
It's just gotten out of control.
In 1994, which is about 22 years ago. That's the thesis of my book. Thomas Jefferson, I dedicated it to him, our great founding father, third American president, who said, federal judges and Supreme Court justices, in other words, Article III judges, because they're unelected, unaccountable to the people, would become despots and tyrants, causing us to shed the blood of patriots and tyrants yet again, every 20 years or so, adding, what's a few thousand dead to refresh the tree of liberty? It's the natural manure of government. He didn't want to see anybody dead or hurt, neither do I, neither do you. But he predicted that because they're unaccountable to the people, they would cease to represent the interests of the people. And that has thrust us in the year 2022 into a counter-revolutionary mode. Michelle, a year or so ago, I wrote a book called It Takes a Revolution, a year and a half ago.
Yes. Forget
the scandal industry. Stop being entertained by what in here, get to work. But since then, the country's been totally taken over by the radical left, or for that matter, the left is the radical left. There's no difference. And it's now a counter-revolution that we have to take it back. And what we've seen is to seize total control of the American people using COVID-19, a virtual dictatorship by this Biden-Harris regime. And I might add, you mentioned science. You have to laugh because Mr. Science, Anthony Fauci, just contracted COVID-19. With all of his vaccines and everything else have proven to be worthless. Okay, so that's his science. Secondly, dumping trillions of dollars into the economy to create a disincentive to work and causing rising rampant inflation where you can't even buy food cheaply anymore, can't get baby formula, chain of supply problems. Also, of course, price of gasoline, which is almost $8 in California right now, $7 in other places, and $6 elsewhere. Third, create rampant crime and defund the police, disrespect them, assault them, batter them, kill them, get them to quit. And now the criminals control the society. And you're in Seattle, you know what that's all about. And then, of course, to use the Justice Department, my once proud alma mater, as a modern-day Gestapo to quell all dissent, whether it's peaceful protesters on January 6th or parents at school board meetings that are worried about their kids being taught perverted concepts and ideologies, sexuality, transgenderism, transsexualism. This is the kind of thing that's out there. And of course, you also have destruction of the military, destruction of Judeo-Christian values, distinctions between man and woman being erased. The left has totally destroyed this country in just a year and a half. and we're hanging by a thread. And it's time for the American people to rise up. And that's the subtitle to Takes a Counter-Revolution. The subtitle is Wake Up America, because there are too many people out there. Even people in my own family will say, Larry, you know, your retirement age, why don't you just go off and have a good time, play golf, play tennis, whatever, take it easy. Let the Republicans do it. But the Republicans have never done it. And when they had control of all three branches of government, what did they do? They didn't balance the budget. They didn't reform Obamacare. They didn't give us the clarion call on Afghanistan and now Ukraine. They become a racketeering fundraising operation. How many emails do you get every day from the Republicans and from people in and around Donald Trump? And I supported Trump. This is not right. This is not right. People need their own money right now, and they don't need to be supporting political candidates. They need to be taking care of their family and rising up and joining groups like Freedom Watch to effect change peacefully and legally. And my book has two major ways to do that. Number one, citizens' grand juries and citizens' trials. In 1992, Justice Scalia, may his soul rest in peace, wrote a majority opinion, United States versus Williams, where he said the grand jury belongs to the American people, not the three branches of government. In the Old West, before the Justice Department came into existence on July 1st, 1870, the American people would try cases with juries, with judges, and mete out justice. Wyatt Earp meted out justice in another way when there was no one else to do it. We have the right to indict, to try, convict. And that's what we're doing because we see the two-tier justice system. We see that the elite are let go, Democrats and Republicans, and it's only the American people that are held to account. And July 7th, we are trying Joe Biden for bribery from communist China, from Russia and Ukraine before President Zelensky took the helm. Also, negligent homicide in Afghanistan, where he wound up killing 7 innocent Afghan kids because he wanted to look tough after 13 GIs were killed, thanks to his negligence at Kabul airport. Anthony Fauci for lying to Congress and for collaborating with the Chinese, creating what everyone knows as a bioweapon that either escaped by accident or by design, killing millions of people. And of course, federal judges who have violated their oath of office, certain federal judges who are putting people in prison over January 6th that were not violent, not denying them right of bail, and basically collaborating with their establishment friends that put them on the bench, federal judges primarily in the District of Columbia. They will be held accountable too. And of course, Hillary Clinton, because she's never been held accountable, and a host of other political criminals that need to be held to it. In 1776, I know I'm taking up a lot of time here,
No, please, go ahead.
Our founding fathers, the biggest reason that they declared independence was that King George had taken our criminal justice system away from us back to London, England, the Court of St. James. And we had no justice. We could not redress our grievances with the king. He would not listen to us. He thought he had total control. News to the people who now run our government. They did not have total control. And that's why when Jefferson and the others wrote the Declaration of Independence, and I'm paraphrasing, they started off by saying, when in the course of human events, the sovereign, the rulers, no longer represent the people under the laws of nature and nature's God, not the law of the king, not the law of the state, but nature and nature's God, that we have a right to alter or abolish that government and to form a new government by and for the people with equal rights for everyone in pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. We have that right, which leads us to the other major proposal, or rather plan that I have in my book, which is the Third Continental Congress. It was our Second Continental Congress that declared independence. We have commenced a Third Continental Congress. It began last year on July 5th and 6th at Independence Hall in Philadelphia in the Visitor Center. We did it there symbolically. We will be declaring independence. We have delegates from around the country, forming a new government, not a new nation. We will get leaders who are ethical, leaders that are moral, and we will elect federal cabinet officials rather than putting them in there. We see what we have now. We have a freak show in Biden's administration. These people aren't qualified. They're there because of their race, because of their ethnicity, because of their religion. There are plenty of people in these races, ethnicities, and religions who are competent, but these people are not. They're political hacks. And along with Biden and Harris, they've all but destroyed this country in a year and a half. Look at this clown Mayorkas that runs HHS. What a disgrace. Look at Peter Buttigieg, who runs the Department of the Interior. He took 3 months off to, quote, give birth with his male wife to kids, and then poses in bed as if his male wife actually had a child. The guy is mentally ill. He's sick, okay? And this is the kind of stuff that's being pushed on our children in the schools. And when the parents complain, then they get an FBI agent to show up at their doorstep.
Yeah, it's
So
scary.
this is where we are. We're at the point of a revolution. I'm trying to keep it peaceful and legal. If we don't succeed, it's going to get violent. I will not ignite it because I don't believe in that. There will be others in this country that will. When people can't get gasoline at a decent price, raising the price not just of driving your car, but heating your house or air conditioning. When you can't get food at a decent price, going up 12%. When you can't get baby formula. The left likes to kill babies before they're born and now apparently after they're born by not giving them food to eat. And then, of course, you've got the rampant crime. People in California, for instance, can steal up to $950, no questions asked. Get yourself a TV for $949 and walk out of Best Buy, and no one does anything about it. When this is what's going on, and people sitting around watching Sean Hannity and thinking that's enough and saying, I'm going to cash in on my retirement because I deserve it. The people in Ukraine wanted to cash in on their retirement too. And unfortunately,
good point.
And I won't use the vulgarity, but you know what? Things happen. And right now, our country's on the verge of destruction. So that's why I wrote the book. And that's why I want people to be activists. I want people to rise up. It's not enough to say protest and boycott, as Mark Levin did in his book, American Marxism. We actually have to take control of our country like our founding fathers do, mete out justice ourselves, and form a new government, not a new nation.
Now, Larry, we look at government and some of the issues that you brought up and say, yeah, it's corruption in our government. It's people lining their own pockets. It's Congress living by different rules. But I would say in the subtitle of your book, Wake Up America, that the responsibility does lie with us. We have been an uninformed public. We have walked around just enjoying the fruits of freedom, first world benefits and prosperity. And because of that, we've turned a blind eye to what is happening in America. Most people look at what's happening with drag your kids to Pride, the complete hypocrisy of January 6th, but riots in America from Black Lives Matter that we just call a summer of love. We look at those things and go, yeah, that's not right, but we don't want to rock the boat.
You're right. There's little pockets here and there, but it's not sufficient. The people need to rise up in mass, okay? And let's talk about pride, for instance, okay? Homosexuals, transgenders, transsexuals deserve rights. They should not be persecuted.
Thank you.
Whatever they want to do in their home, do it in your home.
That's America.
Leave the rest of us alone and don't push it on our kids. But talk about pride. I feel sorry for these people. They live a very sad life. It's not the life that you want to lead. It's not normal. Sorry, it doesn't comport with the teachings of God. And the fact is, why you want to go around parading around saying it's great that I'm gay? It's sad that you're gay. It's sad that you are a lesbian. It's sad that you're transsexual. But yes, we need to respect them. And we cannot forget that it has become a radical movement, like everything else on the left, to indoctrinate our kids to the point, for instance, in the state of Oregon, you're right next to Oregon, they passed a law that a child under 13, if he decides he wants to be a transsexual, can go to a physician and get a sex change operation paid for by insurance companies, and you don't have to tell the parents. That's the law in Oregon now.
It makes sense.
In California, if someone's heterosexual and you go to a psychologist, he or she wants to figure out what they really are. And if you're heterosexual, go with being hetero. At least you can have kids and stuff. It's a crime for a psychologist to counsel someone away from becoming gay. It's a crime in California.
It is.
They have taken over our country. And you want to know why the country's in bad shape? I'm a Jewish Christian. I believe in Jesus, and I'm very proud of my Jewish heritage. Let's go back to ancient Egyptian times when the people weren't following the word of God. What did God do to the Egyptians? He sent a plague into Egypt. He killed the firstborn child of each Egyptian family and created a famine so the Hebrew people could leave for the promised land. Ask yourself this question: killing hundreds of millions of babies, okay, defiling the difference between man and woman, promoting homosexuality and other things. Do you think God's just sitting there playing patty cakes? And I think that he's sending us a warning to shape up or ship out, and we're dangerously close to having to ship out.
That idea of sending a forewarning is a very loving one. That we're not talking about a God who is just, all right, thunder, lightning, zapping. He is sending a forewarning. Now, Larry, you talk about having a Judeo-Christian worldview. When you follow out that worldview, it's logical. Everything lines up in science, in nature, in the choices that we make. When we don't follow that worldview, it doesn't make sense. Things don't line up. And as a result, our world, our American way of life is changing drastically. America has become sick in that regard. But there are people, as you mentioned in your book, that are saying, all right, there's something that we have to do. Establishing a new government. What is the likelihood that will have any teeth to it? People will say that's seditious. People will say that you have no might behind you. You don't have an army behind you.
Or our founding fathers seditious. Okay, were they seditious? Were
Yes,
they treasonous?
they were.
The King George III. If you look at who is in charge of this country today, King George III is Mother Teresa compared to these people. King George III was not a socialist. He was not a communist. He was not an atheist. He was not a radical Muslim. He was not a member of the radical leftist Marxian contingent, which you see all over the January 6th hearings. I'm embarrassed and disgusted by people that claim to be Jewish, because they're not. Most Jews don't go for this. These are Marxists, okay? But it's creating anti-Semitism. People see this. Adam Schiff, Gerald Nadler, this guy Raskin, others. To me, I take offense like African-American conservatives take offense to Black Lives Matter. Then you've got the feminists, then you've got the radical gays, lesbians, transgenders, and the radical blacks. And these are the people that are in control. So we've got to do something pretty radical, but it's peaceful and legal. It says we can do it in our Declaration of Independence. Now we're creating the conversation, and we're creating a groundswell where people will join us. And in World War II, when the Nazis took over France, the Vichy government, I speak French. I majored in French politics at Duke University and French literature.
I didn't know.
That Charles de Gaulle went to London and he set up a shadow government. He said, you do not represent France, you Nazis, and you collaborators, you French collaborators. And he re-entered France after World War II. De Gaulle was one of the greatest leaders of the 20th century. And he reestablished a democracy in France. And we need to reestablish a democracy here. So say we set up the shadow government with real leaders. Say we get somebody like Governor DeSantis in Florida to pull away from the Republican Party. They'll stab him in the back anyway in the end. Say we get somebody like Sarah Palin, who's been ostracized by the Republican Party. Say we get people like even Tulsi Gabbard, who was a Democrat. Get people who are independent, who understand how corrupt the two political parties are, and get ethical people to run our country. Get a president, the equivalent of Ronald Reagan or George Washington or John Adams or Thomas Jefferson or Abraham Lincoln or Teddy Roosevelt and others. One of the things, Trump had the strength, he had the right idea, but he couldn't communicate with the majority of Americans. Okay, he turned them off. And I believe that even with the fraud, and I believe there was massive fraud, that he would have won if he had simply kept his mouth shut. But he got people so upset that they didn't want to hear him anymore.
Yeah.
I didn't even want to hear him anymore. I was tired of it. I still voted for him. And he's infinitely better, a million times better than the brain dead, corrupt criminal Joe Biden, who's in charge right now. But we need somebody who can reach beyond just the base and to unite the American people and inspire the American people. And I believe that the greatest president of my lifetime was Ronald Reagan. He could do that.
Yeah.
100 people don't remember that.
We also don't recognize that under the kind of freedom and leadership that he provided, there are more rights for people who are outside of a Judeo-Christian, for example, ideology. We just have lost a sense of understanding of what our rights truly give to us. But, and this will lead to my question as a result, we are really falling apart. We're on the verge of violence in our country. It's not that people want violence or want a civil war. I'm sure there's some crazy people out there who do. It's just that sense of frustration, anger, hurt, confusion.
We are, Michelle. How did the French Revolution begin? The French people couldn't eat. They couldn't get bread. In fact, that's one of the three pillars that they would recite for the French Revolution. It's bread is in it, pain, in French. When people can't buy food at a reasonable price for their families and they have to eat, excuse the French, S-H-I-T, because they can't afford anything better at McDonald's or whatever, when they can't, the price of gasoline at a decent price or heat their homes, middle this winter, okay, when they can't get baby formula, unbelievable. When they can't walk into a store, sit in a cafe without fear of either being shot or stabbed in the back because there's no law enforcement to speak of that's left. When their kids are being indoctrinated into perverted ideologies, being told that's cool. When the military is so demoralized as it is today, and it is demoralized after Afghanistan, maybe even as demoralized as the Russian military is in terms of they're really not wanting to fight in Ukraine, is that the country is already 90% gone. Now, maybe like a James Bond movie, the water's rising and we can save it, but we don't have much time. And what people don't realize, and the Republicans are out there pumping for money every single day, is that if the Republicans regain control of Congress, it's meaningless. Biden is still there for another 2 years. Look at how much he's destroyed in a year and a half. We have to get rid of him now, peacefully and legally. And that's why we're trying him. We're seeking his conviction. We're asking for a life sentence, and we will ask the police and the military to carry it out. And the American people have the right to do that non-violently. And frankly, the guy should be put away where he can't harm anybody anymore, because the guy is not lucid. He's not intelligent. He tried to run for president twice in the past, got caught plagiarizing other people's works. The guy's pure evil, let's put it that way, in essence. And his wife is just the same, because she hid from the American people his medical condition. That's criminal.
And
Talk
still
about
does.
sedition.
Yeah.
She's responsible as well, and the people around him are responsible, and the Republicans are responsible, because all they do is go on Fox News smiling, happy that the country's destroyed, because they think that will gain them power again. And of course, it's bringing huge amounts of money into their coffers. So we need new political party. Republicans and Democrats can stay, but there need to be competition. I'm an old antitrust lawyer at the Justice Department. I helped break up AT&T. And you need a new government. We need a shadow government. We need to say, here are the real leaders. Here are people that you can come to. We can nominate them. You can go to freedomwatchusa.org. That's where you can get my book, or Amazon.com, or whatever. And you can see what we're doing, because if we put up an alternative to what we've got, I think the people will run to us in droves. And we'll let them in on the decisions as to who should be leaders, just so the colonialists decided that George Washington should be our first leader, because he had the ability to unite people. He wasn't a genius, George Washington, but he had this tremendous force, like Reagan did, to unite people and to bring them together. And he had the strength to hold his ground when people tried to abuse, their position in our government. Remember when he fired all the traffic controllers? You're too young to remember that. But they wouldn't go to work. They were striking, and that endangered our safety in the air. And Reagan said, okay, strike, you're never coming back to work. Done. He broke the unions, played ball after that, and didn't try power plays under Reagan. Or when the Russians were threatening us, the Soviets, it was the Soviets at the time, he called them the evil empire. He said, I'm building Star Wars. I'll be able to counteract all your nuclear missiles. They came to the table, and we reached a START agreement, a limitation of nuclear weapons. He was strong. And Trump was doing the same things. The problem was that Trump couldn't control his mouth. And in many ways, Trump is to blame for Biden and Harris, because it was a reaction. People couldn't stand listening to him anymore, notwithstanding the fraud. And I want people to hear that, because here's somebody who was like his de facto lawyer, who voted for him twice, who believed in him, and I still think he had great instincts. But we need somebody different going forward.
Without God, without faith, without religion, our government is only partially effective.
John Adams said, it doesn't matter how many times you change your rulers or forms of government. Without ethics, morality, and religion, there will not be a lasting liberty. And that we would have to fight little mini revolutions. What you saw on January 6th was overwhelmingly peaceful. It was the least of what could have happened. When the French monarchs, Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette, declared to their people, après moi le déluge, after me the flood, after me I could care less what happens, and they couldn't eat. They rose up at the Bastille and they started a bloody revolution. Louis XVI, Marie Antoinette, and others were taken to the guillotines. That was not January 6th, but it was a warning shot across the bow. And it wasn't just about Donald Trump and the election. It was seen the rank corruption in government for so many decades that the people had said they had enough. And that was a warning as to what's going to happen in the future, because it won't be so peaceful in the future. It will not. When people can't eat and when they can't take care of their kids, it's going to get violent.
Yeah, that's what we need to consider. This was the quote I pulled up that I wanted to end our conversation with. It's impossible to rightly govern a nation without God and the Bible. It's impossible for us to govern our own lives without God and the Bible. It just doesn't make sense. And that is our hope.
And what did the old book of Isaiah say in the Old Testament, which not just Jews, but Christians look to? That's the major chapter for Christians, because that foretells the prophecy of Jesus coming, if you read it. That's one of the things that influenced me, other than him coming to me a couple times. But it says that God will restore the tarnished city to the faithful city using the counselors and judges. Without the counselors and judges, lawyers, unfortunately, are not the most honest people, and they become politicians. And without judges who are honest and represent the people, then the only alternative is revolution. And we're trying to do it peacefully and legally. But if we do not succeed, this country is going to go up in a powder keg. We're at the point of it right now. And people can't even get food at decent prices for their kids, or even baby formula. We're at that point.
We need hope for America. I would like to encourage our viewers, our listeners, to go to MyMichelleLive. You can get a link, or wherever you may be listening, you can find a link to Larry's book, which lays everything we've talked about out and then some. Anything else in these final moments that you would like to encourage our listeners to do?
Well,
or to think
I want to
about?
thank you, Michelle, because people like you need to educate. During the days leading up to the revolution, it was the pamphleteers like Thomas Paine and others who coalesced the colonies. We need people like you, and I want you to join our Third Continental Congress. We're putting together a group. I want you to be one of the leaders, and there will be other leaders too. And I want the American people to feel that they have a home there, and what they're doing is perfectly legal. It's sanctioned by our Declaration of Independence. And if the government moves on us, we have our Second Amendment rights. That's the reason that we have it. But we intend to be peaceful. We won't hurt anybody. But if they try to hurt us, we'll defend ourselves.
Hope for America. Even if you or disagree with ideas that Larry has talked about today, or things that you hear on this show, you have to have an understanding that in a free society, we actually have that right to disagree. We actually have that right to live our own lives the way we see fit. That's what freedom looks like. People should have rights, and people can disagree. But where we've gotten to in America is a dangerous place, and we are on the precipice of disaster. There is hope. And that's what we've been talking about today. And I want to encourage you to like this program, share this program, subscribe, and pick up Larry's book. It takes a counter-revolution. Wake up, America. Thank you, Larry, for joining me today.
God bless.
More news and views at MyMichelleLive.com.